Hi again. Well, something a bit different today. In fact, something very different today. Obviously, I'm not on a cold riverbank, so that's the first difference. I'm at home in the warm, which is a change. Certainly on my videos, it's a change. Yeah, today I'd like to introduce you to a new website that I've built. A website for Bob Goes Fishing, and I'm quite interested in technology. I bought my first computer, my first home computer, back in 1983, the then BBC Micro. For those of you old enough to remember that, it was the time of the Sinclair Spectrum, and it's when the home computing thing really kicked off, I suppose. Anyway, I bought the BBC Micro and I did a bit of simple programming on it. It was great, really, and I've sort of been using computers ever since. Obviously, went over to a PC. Everyone sort of had a PC at some time, or most people did, I suppose, using the famous Windows system. But then in 2008, I moved over to the Apple system, and that's what I'm using now. As part of my, what people would say, messing about on computers, I suppose, I got involved in building websites quite a few years ago. Nothing commercial, just personal websites, perhaps for a friend or family. And I've dabbled in it ever since, and I suppose it was a natural thing for me to, in time, think about building a website for Bob Goes Fishing. If you look closely at the YouTube homepage, you will note that sort of in the top right-hand corner of the banner picture, the banner image, there's a little link, and that's a link that the author of the channel can send you to a website. And in the past, certainly up until a few days ago, if you had happened to click on that link, it would have taken you to a website called Kilburn Lad. Kilburn Lad is the name I use on my personal website, and quite simply because I was born in Kilburn, and I adopted the name Kilburn Lad, which I use on Facebook and various other things as well. Anyway, that's where it would have taken you. But if you click on that link now, it will take you to the new Bob Goes Fishing website. Anyway, without any more ado, what I suggest is we now go onto the computer, and I will introduce you to the website, and I will take you through the various pages of the website and the various things that are on the website, which I hope you'll find interesting. And I mention at the end that if you have any suggestions for additions to the site, then please let me know. I'll explain all that in the remainder of this video. Anyway, please have a look and see what you think. Well, here we are at the computer, and we're on the welcome page of the new website, Bob Goes Fishing. A little sort of picture, sort of me. If you click on that, it actually takes you to my Kilburn Lad website, my personal website with lots of stuff on, where I used to have the fishing diary, but I've moved it from there, and I've basically put it into this new site. So we have the welcome page, Diary of an Average Angler, and you have a nice picture there of a lake, which is a syndicate lake in Pidley, Cambridgeshire. I'm no longer a member of that syndicate, but that's where I fished for a while. You have a button on the page, and you'll have buttons on other pages as well, and that jumps down to the beginning of the diary. So there's a little explanation here saying it dates back to 2003, when I basically sort of got back into fishing after being away from it for quite a long time. Anyway, the diary is really just a blog, so that's the last entry I made, which was 25th of January. We start off with just a sort of summary of when I arrived, what the weather was like, how many fish I caught, what bait I used, and all that sort of thing. Then there's a sort of brief intro there, just as if you're interested. Obviously, you can look at this, see whether it's worth looking at, see if there's any fish. There aren't on this case. In this case, anyway, if you think you want to read more, you just press full report, and then you get it's just a text report, and you will get some more details of what was going on. And if you want to go back, you just press the back button. Now on the left here we have a list of venues that I've fished since 2003, some a lot more than others. You have a list of species, so if you click on any of these, you will be taken to the posts that contain those fish, so it will just select all those posts. Similarly, if you click on the venue, you will get all the posts from that venue, and if you want to go down the archive, you can look at this. Now there's a slight glitch in the software at the moment, unfortunately. So if I click on Field's End, unfortunately it jumps to the top of the page. Now ideally it should jump back to here, and it's something I've taken up with the software developer, and he's promised to put it in his to-do list, and hopefully in a while that will be resolved. But it's a small glitch, but you need to know about it. So now we've clicked on Field's End, so all we get now are the Field's Ends, and you will see that each one has a number, and that's basically the number of times I've been to that venue. It's interesting there. I thought we had missed one, but we haven't. So if we go back a bit, all the recent posts are obviously video posts, but going back in time, they weren't videos, they were just photographs. So here we have one with just photographs, and it says here more photos in the full report. So if you on this occasion go into the full report, sort of part way down there will be a sort of slideshow type arrangement. It's actually called a slider in software terms, so you can slide from fish to fish, and there's a brief description. But it's also implemented a what's called a lightbox, so you can click on it and it launches a much bigger view in a lightbox, so you can go again from fish to fish and you get a much better picture. So if once you've finished looking at a particular venue or particular species, if you click home, then it takes you back to the beginning again. So basically that's the diary page. There's about 200 or so entries, and I had to rebuild all this from scratch when I moved it over from the original Kilburn Lad site. There are probably going to be a few glitches and a few mistakes as a result of that. Now, if you go to the end of any page on this site, you'll see there's a contact which will take you to a contact page, which we can have a quick look at. So contact form, if you want to send me an email. But alternatively, and sorry, going back to the end again, you can report bugs, which will also initiate an email in your email system. But when I get that email, I realise it's a bugs email, so it's you trying to tell me that something isn't quite working as it should. So that's the first page of the site, the welcome page. You can jump to the top from here, and we'll go on now to have a look at the other pages in the site. Okay, we're now on what I've called the Explore page. Now, I needed to choose some shortish words up here, and Explore came to mind, but it covers a number of things, and as you will see, there's a nice picture here of off at Cluny, the large pool below the weir pool, and there are 3 buttons here which take us to either my fish, venues I've fished, or an archive. Once again, you can scroll, you don't have to use the buttons, but if you use the buttons it takes you straight to the various sections. Now, I said here that all these fish featured in what I'm calling my personal bests were caught since I started fishing again around the time I retired, but they exceed anything I caught when I was young. So the biggest fish I caught when I was young, I think, was a barbel of around 4.5 pounds. Carp didn't exist in my youth. basically. Anyway, so we're in my personal bests, and if you go down now, we have a slider like you saw on the welcome page, but on this occasion you don't get a light box, it's just a slider. And you will see the personal bests. That one was fairly early when I got back to fishing at Field's End, and that's my best carp. I've never exceeded the 20 pound mark, unfortunately, but not that it matters really. And then there's a nice roach at Field's End. Tench, again Field's End. Field's End was a very important place for me when I got back to fishing. Crucian, same, Field's End. That one I'm very proud of because it's my only river carp. It's not very big, but I caught it on a holiday in France, having spotted the carp the day before, sort of sunning themselves under the lily pads, so I was really pleased at catching that. My best chub, 5.2, and my best barbel last year at Field's End, although it's a lake barbel, which rules it out for some people. And again, we can go back to the top and we can hit venues. That's a nice view of the River Welland at Stamford. And once again, you've got a slider, and I won't go through them all again, but it gives you details. And we can go to the top again. And archive. Archive is a collection of some old prints that I've scanned in, of dubious quality in some cases. I hope to perhaps add a few more to this once I've done a bit more research, but we'll see. Again, you've got a slider. Actually, the slider's at the last shot on this. I left it in the wrong place. The first one is of barbel I caught on the Holybrook. That's where I said my biggest fish in my youth was a barbel, and I'm not sure if it was that one, but one of them got to 4.5 pounds. Very poor picture because it was taken from a colour transparency which wasn't in very good condition. But again, you can oh yeah, this is interesting. I didn't realise I had this picture of the Holybrook, but I'm saying that's where I was sitting back here, and I caught my first decent chub, just over 3 pounds, at that spot there. And then later on, my friends and I, we found that this was a barbel spot. So yeah, another one of youthful me. Anyway, I won't dwell on that any longer, and that's basically the end of the explore page. Although I might add other sections to that in time. So that's it for the explore. We'll move on to the next page. Right, moving on to the next section of the website, or the next page if you like, which is called book, which is fairly self-evident, I suppose. Now, I did do a video on my book. It's on the channel, so that video tells you an awful lot more about my book than I'm going to do now. But I've put it on the website, obviously, because it deserves a place on the website. There's a picture of it there. This is a little sort of assembly of bits just to make a picture, really. That's my old Speedio reel, trusty Speedio, which is still in use. I've had that about 60 years. A few floats just to add a bit of colour. And this is just a page from a book that I used to take out. I'm on another one now, but this goes back, I think, if you look underneath, to 2011, which was a pretty good year for me in terms of fish. And FE is Field's End, and it's just a list of the fish I caught. And there's no button to go down on this page because there's not really much to it. There's only this bit and a little explanation there about why I wrote the book and how I wrote the book. And you just scroll down now and you've got a sort of a digital copy of the book, which is just an excerpt. And if you press the buttons, it just takes you and you can have a look through. Obviously all the contents are there to tell you what's in it, but after that we just get some sample pages, very much like you get on Amazon when it says look inside. And the book is on Amazon, and thank you very much for those of you who have bought the book. I have sold a few copies, which is nice. I must admit, I follow a Facebook page on collectible fishing books, and it absolutely astonishes me the number of fishing books there are out there. Absolutely astonishing. So I don't know why. I should perhaps expect to sell my little book with all that choice, but But there are an enormous number of fishing books. There's that picture again. Yeah, some of the pictures in this book are obviously the same as on the archive page. Yeah, there's tons of fishing books out there, but it's also very noticeable that probably 80+% of them are carp, which is quite interesting. So there we go, another picture you've seen before. So as I say, there's a few more pages here, extracts, than you'll find on the Amazon site, and I've been able to select the pages, whereas on the Amazon site they select what pages you see, so I've been able to choose which ones I want you to see. And that is it basically for this page. It's just a book, and we can now go on to the About page, which is a bit busier. So here we are on the About page. The About page on a website is normally exactly what it says. It tells you about either the author of the site or the content of the site. I've expanded it a little bit. It's about me and this site, as it says. Once again, we've got 3 buttons for you to jump down to the various sections, and once again you can scroll if you want to, if you don't want to jump about. The first section is about my fishing, which is a potted history, a very, very short potted history of my fishing. Started when I was young, had a big gap, and then came back again. Then, interestingly, I've done one on photography, because I've always, well, certainly in later years, I've photographed the fish, and certainly with digital photography becoming available. And more recently, of course, I've been videoing my exploits. So I've done a little recap there on basically more the videoing, because it was a new sort of thing for me, and I've gradually sort of changed my approach. So I thought that might be interesting for some people. You will see how I have sort of progressed with my videoing, and that might be useful to some of you who are videoing your outings or thinking about doing it. And then the site is a really specialised one. It's a little bit of technical detail about how the site was built, which will only interest those of you out there who may dabble in websites or have an interest in websites. So yeah, so let's go to my fishing. Now that's another nice picture. And below that is, as I say, a very short history of, and it's the same sort of about as you read on the YouTube channel, so not much to really talk about there. Then if we go down to photography, that's a little bit more interesting, because the picture here just shows you a few examples of the videos I've taken recently, and it goes through when I started the videoing, how I sort of added commentary to the video when I processed it originally, and then I went over to a body cam and I started doing the recording live, which was much better, I think. Then my little head cam, which I think is a beautiful little thing that I now use extensively, a Panasonic camcorder that I bought last summer, and more recently a tripod. And then there's a little bit here about an extension microphone for the iPhone, which I use occasionally. I'm actually using it now to record the sound for this screen recording. So anyway, so again, let's just test the buttons out. We go back to building the site. Now, the site, for any of you interested in the technicals of it, is built on an Apple Mac, and there's an application or software, if you like, for the Apple Mac called RapidWeaver. It sort of uses the same approach to its name as the old Dreamweaver, which some people who have been involved in websites may remember. But it's called RapidWeaver, and basically it allows you to buy a theme, and you can then just add your content to that theme. So it makes the whole thing quite easy. But for this site, I've diverged a bit from that, and I've gone into what's called a framework approach, whereby you start with a blank sheet and you literally build the whole site using elements that the framework provides, and the framework's called Source. Anyway, I won't dwell on that anymore, because there's an explanation here with a few links if you want to, anyone who's interested in that sort of thing, if you want to follow them, you can. So basically that's the let's do it the quick way, shall we? that's the about page, and that is about the end of it for the site at the moment. I hope to develop it further, and if anyone has any suggestions about what I could add to it, I'd obviously be very pleased to receive them. But yeah, I hope you think it's a useful addition to the Bob Goes Fishing sort of portfolio. And as I say, if you have any comments, or if you would like to see anything added, please send me a message through the site. You have a contact form, I explained that earlier, and I'll be pleased to consider any suggestions you have. But this is the point, as with all my videos, that we reached the end of it, and it's thank you for watching. Hope you found it interesting, and until I get out fishing again, it's bye for now.